What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you an update about Starfield after its, I would say, sudden update that it got yesterday following the Xbox showcase, where they revealed a little bit of the upcoming expansion, Shattered Space. However, in addition to that, they dropped an update right now for the game that is bringing creations to the game as well as opening up the mod kit finally after it went through a test phase with a whole bunch of verified creators, that is to say modders, alongside a few other improvements to the game such as new Tracker Alliance missions that comes with new rewards and a few extra systems, on top of some improved melee combat. Now, obviously the big deal here is the creations, and while overall I think finally getting the mod kit in the hands of creators as a whole is going to do the game quite a bit of good, it does also use the format of Skyrim's creation system. From the main menu, you can click on Creations, and that will bring you to effectively a storefront that you can take a look at and purchase these things via credits. So some of this stuff is directly from Bethesda, which you can see by the stuff that has the Bethesda logo next to the price. Some of it is from verified creators, which is what the blue check marks are. These are people that Bethesda has vetted, essentially. But you can also pick up mods from basically anybody and everybody. That won't cost you anything, which is where I imagine most people are going to flock to. But let's talk a little bit about the paid side of this, because it does run into the same problem I had with, say, Skyrim or Fallout 4, which is that individual creations are honestly very expensive for what they are. To put that into perspective, 1,000 credits for this comes out to $10 US, which for an individual piece of equipment like, say, a single quest is a little bit much. With that in mind, though, if you purchased the big edition of the game, they gave out some free credits, though having received a review copy of this game ahead of time before its release, it looks like I got whatever version that was because I had some in here. And it's certainly not the kind of thing I would spend money on. Now, the nice thing about Skyrim was that its anniversary edition much later kind of rolled most of the Bethesda verified stuff into the base game anyway, but that won't be the case here. But either way, obviously you can just use free mods if you want, and while I'm not really a fan of the pricing of the stuff that is paid, having the available mod kit and just opening this up to modders in general, I think is going to be to the great benefit of this title for people who want to tweak the experience even further than what the base game would allow you to do. Which brings me to the other portions of this particular update, which are the Trackers Alliance and the melee weapons. Now let's start with the melee weapons because it's simple. Basically, you can find better melee weapons now, that is to say they increase in damage and are thus much more usable than they were previously, as they were vastly outclassed by basically every other weapon type. And not only can you find better weapons, but now you can craft and modify them as well at a workbench. So not exactly an earth-shattering change, but honestly should go a long way to making melee-oriented builds at least a little more fun, so nice to see nonetheless. But the other bigger portion of this update was the Trackers Alliance. Now, if you've played the game before, you might already be familiar with the fact that you can occasionally run into people from the Trackers Alliance, which are effectively sort of bounty hunters that will, of course, track down people with bounties on their heads, as you might imagine. But now we can join them, basically by going to a lot of different systems and settlements. You might run into an NPC who will direct you to Aquila City, where you can try out for the Trackers Alliance after a trial mission. Now, this seems to be a mix of more curated content, both in the form of what's available right now and also future content that they would like to add to it via the Creation Club, which seems like an almost official way for them to do like little quest mods for themselves. So you might very well see additional curated quests for specific bounties via this Trackers Guild in the future, but right now this does a few other things. After the initial mission, which will grant you a whole host of new gear all on its own, you get access to a few different features. For starters, you'll be able to scan individual people running around a settlement for anyone who might have a bounty on them. Once you've verified them by the ones that are glowing red, you can go up to them and either end it in a shootout or potentially try to talk them into surrendering to collect the bounty on their head. But another portion of the Trackers Guild here is their reward system. Now, at least throughout some of the galaxy, you'll be able to find what they're calling Astra, which seems to be a type of currency, and you can take this back to a vendor at the Trackers Alliance headquarters and trade it in for what appears to be randomized loot. You simply trade in a certain amount in exchange for a piece of loot of a certain rarity tier, it looks like. And while I was hoping for something a little more deterministic on that specific front, it is kind of cool given all of the additional gear you can now get your hands on as part of this update. And last but not least, perhaps unsurprisingly, they also fixed a handful of bugs with the patch that added all of this stuff in. But that is pretty much going to do it for this particular video. So I hope you enjoyed this update on Starfield and what it's got going on. Personally, I'm looking forward to its Shattered Space DLC to see what that does and what they add in the future, which is why I continue to post updates like this particular video. But let me know how you feel about this one down in the comment section below. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.